Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the best talents on each flank. This is going to help you guys get into that flank class just a bit better, or if you're learning flank, getting your paladins, etc. Just going to help you get that best talent so you're not running any bad talents, and so you have the best chance of winning with those flanks and get you on your way to maining that flank. We also just revamped the Discord. Feel free to join. We're building an amazing community centered around Paladins, but we also have a few other games featured in the Discord, and just overall an amazing community. So make sure you join up. The link is in the description, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in the video. Enjoy. So first we have Andrew. This is going to be Darkstalker. In most games, you're just going to get a ton of value out of having 3 separate dashes. It's very similar to Vatu, where you just have 3 forms of ability now. Having 3 different charges, you're able to get a lot of value. As you can see, I've already had 4 dashes. Dashed 4 times. And just having this mobility is just kind of crazy, especially when you have reset cards, or you just have ammo reset cards, stuff like that. You just are able to keep a lot of uptime in the air, and a lot of damage coming from places they might not be able to space, especially if they don't have hit scan. But if they do have hit scan, even then, having this like perma floating, it's just kind of crazy, especially when you have reset cards. I already said that, but yeah, Darkstalker is going to be his most reliable and probably his most safe talent. You can go Defiant Fist in like very niche circumstances if you're just hard diving the backline and you want to confirm those kills with some extra burst damage. But for the most part, Darkstalker is just going to be your best for having that extra floating. Next is Buck. This is going to go to Bounce House. This is going to give him a ton of extra damage, and especially when you're running reset cards, you just are able to burst people down way faster and having that extra damage. Obviously, this doesn't mean you don't have your engage for a disengage, but I don't really think you need to disengage with this guy when you are just able to burst them down. Now, this doesn't mean his other 2 talents aren't viable. Both Vocal and Ensnare are just as good. But in more use cases, Bounce House is going to be a more ideal talent. Bulk Up can be fine if you're playing more of like a tanky style buck, and it's going to be just fine if you're playing a little bit more at range. But for the most part, Bounce House is just going to be your most reliable, and it's going to have a lot more use cases than the other 2. Caspian, this is going to measured cadence for the most part. I personally run everywhere once at this point because I don't think measured cadence or it's got some heft are even good anymore. I personally go everywhere once, just giving me that 5-second cooldown on a dash is kind of crazy. But everybody usually goes measured cadence. This is going to give you extra damage. That extra 400 damage is going to come in clutch a ton, especially once you start getting stacks on your weapon. You're just going to have it's going to have a ton more speed, and just like your normal ability. For me, Chef, I don't actually know what the name of it is, called Rogue's Tempo. Having that minor one is just going to help you out get a bunch more damage. It's just straight up free damage for you, help you burst down targets. So yeah, it's going to go to measured cadence overall. Evie, for the most part, you're just going to want to go Wormhole. You're just going to have more survivability in general, especially on Evie, somebody who's at 1800 health. She does have 3 forms of survivability, both Ice Block, Soar, and then obviously you have your normal Blink. But having this Wormhole is just going to give you that extra survivability after bursting somebody down, and then you blink back and then you kill them. It's just going to give you a bunch more survivability, especially on somebody who has 1800 health. Now obviously she does have these other 2 forms of mobility, but again, just having more survivability on a character who is extremely low, I just kind of lost myself there, extremely not really that survivable, is just going to be a lot better. Snow Globe can have its uses, but for the most part, you're just going to want to go Wormhole, give you more survivability, and just extra, just overall guaranteed value. Next is Kasumi. This is my main. My entire channel is based around Kasumi. So in most use cases, Empowered Curse is just going to be straight up her best. Having that extra ultimate charge and movement speed is just going to give you a lot more value. When they have very immobile characters, like Vivian, Tyra, Victor, that sorts, you're going to want to go Haunted Grounds. But for more use cases, you're just going to want to run Empowered Curse. It's going to let you be a bit safer, only barely ping in the backline or on an off angle. With Haunted Grounds, you're really forcing yourself into that backline. But for the most part, I missed my thing. For the most part, you can really run this against immobile characters, and then you just burst them down quickly, and then it's a free kill. So go it against immobile characters. But for the most part, if you want guaranteed value, just go Empowered Curse. If you're playing into heavy dive, unfinished business is fine, but unfinished business is honestly just not that great. You want to really be going Empowered Curse, and if they're playing immobile characters, go Haunted Grounds. and you'll get the most value out of those two. Koga currently, Dragon Saints is going to be his best talent. After they changed it to where his claws pierce, it just became one of his best talent, and you just run Life Seal and then Skewer Healing, plus Life or Base or Veteran, Rejuve, anything that makes you really survive, and you just have a ton of burst damage. As you can see, you're just able to pierce through everybody, especially on maps such as like Bazaar or closed maps, and you're going to be able to get a ton of value from that pierce and a ton of survivability from your Life Steal plus Life Rip. And if you're running Rejuve or you have extra health from Vet, it's just going to be a ton better than his other talents. Blood Reaper just makes it to where you're basically useless outside of your ult, and his ult isn't even that good at base anyway. And Adrenaline Junkie is also just fine if you really want to go it, but for the most part, Dragon Saints is just going to be your better talent. Lex is going to be between Death Hastens and Discovery. I think it's really up to you. I haven't really seen Lex too much. I still think Lex is actually pretty good, but Heroism, you're not really going it anymore unless they just have a really high burst damage and you really need that 40% mitigations. You're not really going Heroism. Both Discovery and Death Hastens have their ups and downs. Discovery just gives you straight up benefit of extra damage on your Retribution target, but if you're not targeting your Retribution target, you don't have that extra damage. And Death Hastens is just going to reduce your attack speed, but increase your overall burst damage, with it going up to 680 every 0.7 seconds, instead of his base, which is 320 every 0.25 seconds. So it's very similar damage output. It's just going to be higher damage per shot, and the other one's going to be higher DPS. So yeah, it's really up to you whether you want to run Discovery or Death Hastens. I personally go Discovery, because I think it just gives you more value, especially with some of his cards where he can heal off of Retribution target kills. I personally go Discovery, but both are just fine. On to me, this is going to Cat Burglar. Street Justice just is not that good. If you use Street Justice, you're really just losing value. As you can see, I can 2 auto and then dash them, and it does the exact same thing as Street Justice. Now, obviously, this is different. If you're playing into a triple tank comp, obviously going Street Justice is probably just your best play. But if you're wanting to burst down squishies, then you can go Cat Burglar, and this is just going to be your overall best talent. I have been seeing some Rogues Gambit, but for the most part, you just get more value out of Cat Burglar in basically every single scenario. But if you're playing against triple tank, go ahead and go that Street Justice, and that's the only circumstance you should really be going Cat Burglar or Street Justice. For the most part, every other time, you're gonna want to go that Cat Burglar. Moji, you can really go either Boom Boom or 2. It really is just kind of up to you. 2's just gonna give you more survivability for both you and your team, and Boom Boom's gonna give you a lot more burst damage. So on maps where she's good, such as like Jaguar Falls or Bright Marsh, you're gonna probably want to be going that Boom Boom a bit more. But 2 is also just fine. It's really up to you whether you want that extra survivability or that extra burst damage. She already does have pretty decent survivability with both Magic Barrier and her Bunny Hop. I kind of fucked it up there, but she can Bunny Hop out of Scamper. So yeah, she already does have pretty decent survivability. So 2 and Boom Boom are both her best talents. It's just really up to you what you want to go. Skye, the best talent for Skye is actually not playing Skye, but if you really are playing Skye, then going Debilitate is going to be your best option. It actually used to be Smoke and Dagger, having just actually, like, it was actually a ton of healing and a lot of utility, but ever since they nerfed it down, there just isn't as much utility, and just having this extra damage and quicker burst damage is just going to be a lot better if you were unfortunately playing Skye. Preparation is just not good. You're basically taking away your entire hidden ability just to reload your weapon mid-fight. So you don't have that really high mobility, and then you would have to use your smoke screens, which really gives it away on where you're at. So don't go Preparation. It's really bad. And Debilitate is just going to be your best option for that high burst damage, especially against tanks and even against squishies, having that extra damage. Being able to burst them down really quickly. So yeah, Debilitate if you're unfortunately stuck playing Skye. But a Talus is going to Inner Strength. Nothing personal can work, and so can Fashion Bargain. I think all of his talents are fine, but Inner Strength is just going to be your most reliable and your best talent in basically 95% of your games. Having that cooldown reset after bursting somebody down, maybe even 2 people, and then you TP, and then you have your cooldowns already almost backed up to be able to come back and burst people down all over again. So yeah, for the most part, Inner Strength is just going to be your best talent, having that cooldown reduction, and just honestly making you even a bit safer. Using your dash and then TPing back, and then you have your dash basically almost up again, being able to use it again, and overcharge in case you need that extra DPS. So yeah, I would say Inner Strength is just overall his best talent. Next is 7. This is going to Tribunal upgrades, but Spring Loaded can be used in some circumstances. But in like most use cases, having this extra burst damage it's just a lot better. You're able to burst people down. Automatic doesn't really matter for the slow because you're not really using automatic. And, of course, when you're still using mag dump at close range, then it's just fine having that extra damage over time. But ultimately, it's for that burst, just having that extra damage, basically almost able to two-shot. If you're able to hit headshots, you're able to basically almost two-tap. I think you can two-tap somebody. If you only hit headshots, you can. So if you get lucky with that double headshot, then you can definitely get that burst. But even without it, you still have a ton of damage, and it's just absolutely crazy. So yeah, Tribunal Upgrades is this best talent for that extra damage overall. Vatu, I would personally give it to Unerring, just because it's able to confirm that burst damage overall a lot easier. Enveloping Shadows is good, and I think objectively his best talent, but especially getting into Vatu, his kunai can be a little bit tricky to hit, and so just being able to confirm that damage overall is going to be a little bit better as you're getting better with Vatu. But I think as soon as you get better with Vatu, Enveloping Shadows, having that cooldown reduction every time you do that, it's just going to be really nice, and especially with those cooldowns cards, you're able to get a ton more value out of it. So yeah, I would say when you're learning Vatu, where you're still getting used to his aiming with his kunai, because it can definitely be sometimes difficult to hit, unless you're confirming with ambush, then just I would go Enveloping Shadows most of the time, just to have that extra cooldown reduction, especially with cooldown reduction, CDR cards, or cooldown reset cards. But if you're still learning Vatu, again, sorry for repeating myself, then you would go Unerring. Vora has two very viable talents. This is a very common theme with flanks, Relentless Presence and Unyielding Pressure. For the most part, Unyielding Pressure is going to be your best talent, with Relentless Presence being just fine if you really need that survivability from the Tendril. But in most cases, you're going to want to go Unnerving Presence, just to get that extra 10% health damage. Being able to burst people down a lot easier, and just overall higher damage output. It's just going to be a lot more useful. But if you really need that survivability with Tendril from Relentless Presence, then you can absolutely go it. And then finally is Zhin. You're just going to want to go Yomi, and basically every single match, having that extra 150 on that final hit, it's just absolutely incredible. It gives him more burst damage, which means he's going to be able to kill targets faster, meaning he's able to use his abilities a bit sooner, and then he's able to survive just overall more. So yeah, Yomi is just going to give him just extra damage for absolutely free. And then there you go. You just have more damage, you have more burst damage, and then that also means you kill targets faster, meaning you technically can survive a bit better. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I appreciate you guys watching this video. Send this to anybody who is learning flank, or is getting into the flank class, or you're just getting into Paladins, etc. Whatever you need this for, this can help out a lot of players, so make sure to send this to them if they are learning flank. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a sub and a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.